I haven't said anything about the 2021 census, largely because other people have said it already better than I can. Um, but I want to do a drill down into the city of Leicester to try and extrapolate, to pull out what are the establishment motives here, where is it heading, so and what are the future trends likely to be. Now, the carry-home message from the census is that the white British proportion of the UK has gone down in the last 10 years from being 4 out of 5 to 3 out of 4. And 10 years before that it was 87.5 in 2001, so it was nearly 9 out of 10. Now it's 3 out of 4. So that's a real steady, that's a fast decline in a short period of time. That's over the whole of the UK. That's the number of white British going from 87.5% to 80.5%, and today to 74.4%, slightly under 3/4. So what interests me is to try and draw out what is the motivation of the people ruling us here. What are they? Why are they doing it? And what are they trying to do? What are they aiming at? What's the ultimate destination? And where's it heading? And I thought no better example to use than the one we've been told time and time again since the census that we should celebrate. It is compulsory to celebrate, and that is Leicester. We must celebrate Leicester. So let me just show you the figures for Leicester. If I show you that. Now that's the Wikipedia page, which is demography of Leicester. And white British. Now, one thing that the press keep reporting on, interestingly with Leicester, is they're not reporting on the number of white British. They're reporting on the number of white people and kind of saying that's white British. They're trying to fudge it. I think they know it doesn't look very good. They're telling us to celebrate it, but I think it seems obvious to me. Why would they keep saying that the white British is the larger number of just white, if they are proud, or if they are as proud as they say they are, of the change? So, white British in 2001, it was 60.64%, and then 10 years later, it was 45%. And then today, well, in 2021, it was 33.21%. So really bang on 1/3 in 2021. That is a big drop. That is a definite minority. Now, where's it going to go? Well, I want to come to that in a minute. But before I do, what I'd like to do is to look at what's the establishment view of this? What view is officialdom taking to this? How are they telling us to respond? And no better way than to see what's on the first page of Google. If you put in the words Leicester diverse, I've done it in two ways. First of all, Leicester diverse, to see what comes up, and the second way to see what the establishment thing is, or the establishment news outlets, BBC News Leicester diverse. But let's just look at Leicester diverse. So the front page of Google. There we come up. The Guardian, diversity is a beautiful thing. The view from Leicester and something or other. Leicester and Birmingham. So it is, I need to register to keep reading. Okay, so it's saying that it's become the first super diverse cities in the UK, where most people are from black, Asian or minority ethnic backgrounds, according to the 2021 census. A total of 59% of people in Leicester are from minority ethnic backgrounds. Well, that's wrong. White people from Poland or Ukraine or Russia or Romania, they are minority ethnic backgrounds. It's 67% who are from minority ethnic backgrounds. Again, they're trying to hide this thing that they're so proud of, this thing that they think is such a beautiful thing. That's a quote from one of the people in that story. You might be able to get the whole story if your cookies allow you. Diversity is a beautiful thing. Anyway, let me get rid of that one. Let me go back to the next one. Hold on. Okay, diversity is a beautiful thing. What's the next one? Leicester Mercury, UK's most diverse city, Leicester, to be celebrated in National Festival. Okay, now historians from De Montfort University will host the event exploring the city's diverse history. So this is historians. I always thought history was an academic study, and you're meant to be a little bit detached and a little bit analytical about it. But these historians are going to have a festival celebrating Leicester's diversity. Okay, so this is part of the corruption of sort of intellectual activity in this country. Leicester proudly holds the title of being one of the most multicultural cities in the UK. Now its history is set to be celebrated as part of a national festival next year, hosted by the Institute of Historical Research. You could not get a more nerdy, supposedly impartial, unbiased, intellectual organisation drilling down into the research detail. No, they're going to make you celebrate, and you will. De Montfort University has been chosen to host one of the events which will focus on Leicester's history and how it became so diverse. It's said some 70 languages spoken in Leicester, and next year's event will provide an opportunity to hear different stories of residents, community groups and organisations, and aims to amplify marginalised stories. Why do they use these kind of terms? And we know what that means. Promote inclusivity and engage diverse communities. It goes on. Leicester's event will be one of several, including workshops, walking tours, film screenings, hosted by other organisations across the country. Okay, and it will bring together academic historians and community history groups in partnership with the Leicester branch of the Historical Association. It carries on like this. There's Professor Elizabeth Tingle, Professor of History at De Montfort University, said about the Leicester History Festival will address all the aims of the IHR events series, but in particular will examine the histories, etc., etc. And what she says at the end, doing so through the analytical lens. It doesn't sound very analytical to me. It sounds like a festival of celebration. The analytical lens of multiculturalism allows a critical exploration of a theoretical and lived historical concept. That is reflexive language. It says nothing. Professor Catherine Clark of the IHR said the Our Century celebrations, I wonder who Our is there, aimed to inspire the next generation of historians. All events approach history in imaginative and creative ways, addressing urgent challenges, discovering or amplifying marginalised stories, promoting inclusivity. Yeah, I've enjoyed reading history all my life. Its purpose is not, it's to tell people what has happened. It's not to promote inclusivity. It's not to promote today's politics. Engaging diverse communities, that's the purpose of history, is that right? And informing and inspiring the next generation of historians. Yeah, they're really, really keen on that. So that is that one. So I think the message is clear. You are going to celebrate. Let me get rid of that. Let me go to the next one. A City of Diversity, Story of Leicester. So that's Story of Leicester, that blog. Let me just bring that up. I don't know who this is, Story of Leicester. I don't know what their funding are. Perhaps someone could look it up, do a bit of digging and put it in the comments. Leicester has a long history of welcoming new arrivals from the Romans 2,000 years ago, blah-de-blah-de. The city has been a safe haven for refugees all over the years, blah-de-blah-de. Studies have shown that Leicester is home to 240 faith groups, blah-de-blah. And it goes on. A growing population for its seeking refuge from war, post-war Leicester, the Race Equality Centre, an influx of communities seeking safety, more recent arrivals, and students, and festivals and celebrations. Leicester's Mela, a Hindu festival, started in 1982, and the annual Caribbean Festival. These festivals are all attended by a wide cross-section of Leicester's diverse residents who take pride in living in such a vibrant, diverse city. Leicester, famous for its diversity. There is no better way to represent the sheer variety of Leicester's communities than the story of Narborough Road being the most diverse street in the UK, possibly the most diverse street in the world. And this is the bit that I quite liked, where it says, In 2011, the census results showed that less than 50% of Leicester's population called themselves white British, in quotes, a fact which was reported, in scare quotes that is, you don't need those quotes, the phrase in the census was white British, a fact which was reported across the national media at the time. In 2012, the Runnymede Trust stated that Leicester is home to 240 faith groups, etc. Yes, we've already heard that. So, there's no doubt what they're saying. Diversity, great. All right, so let me get rid of that one. And then geographies of diversity in Leicestershire. Let me just see that one. That's Hum Media. Don't know what that one is. I think this, that's from 2013. Okay, I think that one genuinely is a bit more analytical. It's just reporting data. So it's not saying anything one way or the other. It's not trying to engage in inquiry about what people think or trying to evaluate. Okay. Then the BBC, Census 2011, well, that was 10 years ago, Leicester most ethnically diverse in the region. And then from today, that's from 2022, Leicester one of first, let me just bring it up. Leicester one of first cities in UK with no ethnic group majority data. And there you see it's not a white face to be seen for people. Demi Essex, Bernard Francis, Werner Frederick and Maslu have a lot of love for the East Midlands city. So it goes down, and I feel privileged to live in Leicester. And dance teacher Demi says she feels proud to be from such a diverse city. And yes, and then Leicester is a classic example of how to work together. When Werner Frederick and her son Bernard Francis arrived in Leicester, racism was a visible and constant presence. So I think as long as you're not white, diversity is a good thing. That's basically what they're saying. Whites are bad people. That's the only problem. White people's attitudes. Leicester is the most harmonious city in Europe. That's this fella Mashru, other Ugandan Asians, and this is another celebration. Fast forward 40 years, and he now thinks Leicester is the most harmonious city in all of Europe. I take pride that we helped contribute to something. He welcomes Leicester's new status and believes the future is positive for the city. It's going to get more diverse, is what he's saying. Most of my good friends are Muslims, Sikhs, Indians. We maintain that type of relation here. Okay, so lovely, happy, hippie, multicultural Leicester. This is what we're being, I think, force-fed. So that was the BBC. Then the next one is demography of Leicester. That's the Wikipedia page that I just showed you there. That one. Equality and diversity, Leicester City Council, and the Leicester City. Our equality and diversity strategy sets how we will meet the needs of local residents and make sure we meet our equality duty. Leicester is one of the country's most diverse cities. It has a great reputation for the strength we draw from a city as a city from our diversity. Diversity is our strength, and from the way in which we work hard to bring different communities together to foster understanding and tolerance. All of these stories, they come, I don't know when this page was, but I think this page was published, it's in response to the 2021 census. Let me just have a quick look there. Hold on a second. No, I don't know if that Leicester City Council page is post the 2021 census. It is Leicester City Council's current page on equality and diversity. So since that census. Now, all of this celebration is coming a couple of months after the Hindu-Muslim riots in Leicester. And they're still pushing the line. Everyone loves everyone. It's great. More, please. Okay. And then we have another one. Hold on, bear with me. Yes, cross-cultural cuisine. I wonder what that's going to say. Takeaway, we wouldn't have curry if it wasn't for all of these different communities. That's cross-cultural cuisine, multicultural restaurants on Leicester's London Road. About multiculturalism in Leicester. Leicester is often heralded as a model example of a multicultural city, and for good reason. Bloody. Why is Leicester multicultural? A multicultural utopia. Despite many positive reports on the multicultural nature of Leicester, it is debatable whether multiculturalism goes far enough. Okay, so I think we have the... so that again, that's part of the message. That's part of the carry. They're really, as you can see, there are two carry-home messages. One is it's wonderful to be so diverse. The second thing is we must go further. Doing well must try harder. Very lovely and diverse, must get more diverse. Okay, so that's multicultural cuisine. And then Bagicha of Leicester, a city of diversity. Well, let's see if I can pull that up. That looks like a private blog. Leicester, a city of diversity. There's been a lot of that's someone blog. There's been a lot of interest in diversity over the weekend following the disturbances around Green Lane Road and Belgrave. I noticed on my Twitter feed that I was picked up by journalists, etc. They're of course keenly watching the this because of the involvement of what seems to be groups aligned to the RSS and the ruling party in India, the BJP. I've worked in my city for most of my professional life. Yes, this article doesn't say very much. However, as a city, Leicester is today one of the most diverse areas in the UK and perhaps even in Europe. It goes on. I think this is more a celebration of diversity, but saying there's been something in the news about it recently. It doesn't really come to any great conclusion. I'm not sure why it's on Google's front page there. All right, now let me get rid of that one. So that is the front page of Leicester Diverse. If you look at BBC News, Leicester Diverse, hold on, what you get is very similar stuff. Leicester, one of the first cities in the UK with no ethnic minority group. Remember that one with those 4 people? That was that story. And then the 2011 census story. University of Leicester to celebrate the city's migration history. There's another one which wasn't on the previous page. Lack of diverse curriculum hampers BAME students. That's from June 2021. Lack of diverse curriculum hampers BAME students, university study finds. That's the University of Leicester. So it's basically saying more diversity, please. We need to go further. And let's go Leicester, the Leicester Mercury. Again, yeah, Leicester among first cities in the UK where white people are no longer a majority. If I just show you that, that was, if you recall that one, I went through that, one of the most diverse cities in the UK. All right, this one, BBC News UK on Twitter, the surprising violence in Leicester. So we'll just, hold on. Why the violent unrest was surprising to many. Yes, because you've been looking the other way. You've been hawking your diversity nonsense. That's why you're surprised by recent unrest between Hindu and Muslim men has raised difficult questions for this city. No, it hasn't. It is not. Well, those are not questions that you, the BBC, or anyone else has shown any interest in answering. And my evidence for that is look how quickly, 2 months later, the census data comes out and you are celebrating. It is diverse. Diversity is our strength. It creates harmony, despite the abundant evidence that you've had to report on as being so surprising. So, and the next one there, now this is an outlier on these stories. This is Douglas Murray, Leicester and the Downside of Diversity. Now, I think this actually adds to the... You might think, oh, well, there's someone saying that diversity is a bad thing. No, not a bit of it. This adds to the picture. This is Douglas Murray. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Leicester and the Downside of Diversity. Sadly, the most common response is simply to shrug and hope for the best. He's not criticising, saying diversity is a bad thing. He's saying he doesn't like the way the authorities are shrugging about it. This is nuance. This is a little bit of grumbling. This is allowing people who don't like diversity to let off a little bit of steam internally. As I have said many times in recent years, if you import the world's people, you import the world's problems. Well, that's a devastating critique, which is to say that you do not also get some upsides. So there are upsides to diversity. The upsides of diversity are focused on all the time, but we have a curious habit of downplaying the downsides. This is typical Douglas Murray. Can't you hear him saying this and gurning whilst he does, doing his middle of the road act? Just one of which erupted in the city of Leicester last week. And he goes through what's happened. Now the conclusion is interesting here. Because, hold on, there we are. There are all sorts of advantages to a multicultural society. That's his view. But the downside is, and this is the downside, this is what he's saying, the downside is, so multicultural is great, there are all kinds of advantages to it, but the downside is that we are only one internet rumour, flag attack or ethnic chant away from civil unrest. So as long as you can get away or from the possibility of imminent civil unrest, diversity would be an unalloyed good. You'd have nothing but the advantages, of which there are all sorts. Not my own preferred state for the country. Well, it's not something I would personally choose. I don't prefer it myself. But then I didn't make the rules, and it's hardly surprising that at such moments the people who did choose to keep their heads down. So he seems to be saying, firstly, there's a problem with civil unrest, and secondly, he finds it a bit unpleasant that the people who are force-feeding us this diversity go so quiet. Witness the BBC, and just don't understand it and will not answer the questions when the problems of diversity come to the fore. Okay, so let me just go back here. So that's and then so that's Douglas Murray. I think his story fits in with the general picture. Celebrate diversity. There will be a few people giving a little bit of supposedly intellectual nuance, okay, and not really saying anything very much, which I don't think Douglas Murray is. Okay, the next story, 40th anniversary of BBC Radio Leicester. That this house congratulate. Oh yeah, this is that's the BBC. So. That's a motion in sorry, not the BBC, that's Parliament. It's so easy to confuse the BBC and Parliament. Right. A motion in Parliament that this House congratulates BBC Radio Leicester on its 40th anniversary year, believes that the station sets an excellent standard for the provision of news and entertainment, and notes Radio Leicester's proud record of involving and reflecting the vibrant and diverse local community in the region. I mean, God, talk about the dialectic. I mean, it's like North Korea. Don't start me off. Okay, so I'll go back to the next one. Leicester, one of the first cities in UK. That's Yahoo News. That is the same one as the Leicester Mercury story, I think. So, oh no, it doesn't come up. They've scrubbed it. I wonder why. Okay, then diversity is a beautiful thing by The Guardian. If you remember that story, which I couldn't access, but there it is. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Isn't it wonderful? That is beautiful diversity. There's someone there, there's 3 Muslims and someone who's of unspecified, possibly Western race. Okay, that's diversity for you. All right. Okay, so that is the response to all of this, to this data here, to white British people being not 41%, but 33% in Leicester. That's great. Very diverse, wonderful thing. Must do better. Must get more diverse. So what I draw from that enhances my view that what the authorities are doing is they don't want to wipe us out. They don't want to replace us in the way that you might replace a worn-out biro, a worn-out blue biro with a brand new red biro. What they want is to increase their power. This is about class and power, and it's about a political class that has the power wanting more power. And the way to get more power over people is to weaken them. And the way you weaken, one of the best ways is you take away their sense of identity. And diversity is an excellent way to do that. And you just try and rule over a collective paste of different competing little sort of semi-identities that don't really qualify identities and are not generally allowed to. I think what they want, their aim, specifically, I think they would want white British people. They wouldn't really want any bunch of people, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, African, West Indian, or British or English, to be above about 20%, maybe 25%. I think 20% is what they would like, so that you just have a bunch of competing people who don't have a sense of being together, don't trust each other, and don't have a sense of home. Such people are very easy to rule. In the same way that a wife beater wants to finds he has more power over his wife if he can take away her sense of identity and degrade and grind down his wife. Okay, so that's what I think they would like to go for, 20 to possibly 25%, 25% at the very, very maximum. So if you could have lots of different groups, none, all between about 15 and 20%, I think that is the ultimate aim, because that just makes people a cinch to rule, because they're all bitching and moaning and complaining, and crucially turning to government for protection from each other. And people who turn to government from help won't turn on government. All right. So that's what I think their motive is. That has seemed obvious to me. It is not about economic gain. It is not about well-being. It is about the kind of society we want, chiefly one which gives the people who have power more power. Now, are they likely to achieve it? I don't think so. What I think over the next decade, we are likely to see, I think they might achieve that in Leicester. I would expect, so it was 45% in 2011, went down 12% in to 2021, a decade later, and I would expect that to continue, and it'll be about, I would say in 10 years' time, it'll be roughly 20%. It could collapse completely, but I doubt it. I think white British people in Leicester will be maybe a touch more than the 20% mark, somewhere between 20 and 25%. And so they might achieve it there. But over the whole of the UK in 10 years' time, I would expect that the number of white British people to be about 2/3, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, but around about the 2/3 mark, and continuing to shrink. And but I don't think it will get any further than that. Not because we'll stand up to it, we won't. I simply think that the authorities, the system which gives power to these authorities, will collapse. It will break down in about a decade's time. So if we get another census, which is questionable, that's what I think it will show. We may get another one. I don't think we'll get another one after that, because I think the system will break down before that. I think it will break down under the weight of debt, the economic problems that we have. If it doesn't, the sheer weight of unproductive multiculturalism, hostile multiculturalism, will collapse the state itself, partly through its economic parasitism and its the weight it places, the weight of demand on the welfare systems that it places, but also the hostility that foreign groups have to being ruled by people that they regard as foreign to them. Because if they're creating part of their homeland in England, they don't really want to be ruled by English people in it. So there'll be that rejection of authority, I think, will also lead to be one more factor, just toppling over the system that exists. So, but in the meantime, over the next decade, so I think the system will collapse in about a decade's time, a bit after the end of this decade. And in the meantime, the authorities are going to do what they are saying loud and clear, what they're broadcasting through those media organs, which is more diversity, please. Leicester is leading the way. Leicester is the example. Leicester is going to go further. Leicester is the pathfinder, and we must follow. They're going to do that for the next decade. We are going to allow them to do it, because as long as all kinds of low quality money and money's worth gets dished up to us on the altar of nationalised medicine, we will take it, we will accept it, we will go along with it. When the system collapses, then I think we will discover that this issue of identity, of belonging, will become crucial. This issue of home will become crucial to the issue of safety and survival. Currently, we think government keeps us safe, government enables us to survive. Therefore, government is okay. Government can do what it wants. When government falls over and it's no longer providing anything, when it's broken all its promises and fallen over and the people running it have run away, then I think we will see people suddenly waking up in a bad mood, tearing the welfare drip feed out of their own arms, and really wanting to re-engage with this issue of identity, belonging and home. And then that is when it will seem like we have lost, but that is the point at which we will have won. But in the meantime, this is going to continue, and we are going to keep going along with it. Thank you.